You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 24 of Storyteller Conclave. This is a show all about helping you run the best tabletop role-playing game that you can. Whether you're a new storyteller or dungeon master learning the craft, or an experienced storyteller looking to take your game up to the next level, I am Sarah.
I am Rob.
How we doing, Rob?
I'm kind of relaxed.
I know, right?
It's really weird.
It's been a hell of a week, and it's good to be back in the studio.
It is good to be back in the studio, but at the same time, I felt weird because we didn't make plans.
I know.
I wasn't so sure about this. Yep, Knox, it's 24. 24.
24.
Oh, my God. So, news update. We're on our 24th episode. So, I guess we're not kids anymore.
It feels good, man.
Yeah. We don't have a topic.
No, we don't.
That's really weird.
We don't.
So weird.
We reached out to you guys on our Discord server and asked you to barrage us with questions. And barrage you did. A veritable volley.
You did.
Of questions.
And then I grabbed a couple extra topics, some stuff that hit the Discord, I will say relatively recently, from people that I thought were really kind of fun things to poke at.
Yeah.
So if we get to
topics.
those, I think that'd be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, but it was a little weird.
Yeah.
You know, you created the show sheet, and usually I have like a Tuesday or Wednesday where I'm like, oh, I've got to write a bunch of notes and really kind of deep dive the subject so we have something to talk about. And I kind of pulled it up today, and I was like, oh. I mean, there's questions. I just kind of looked over them, kind of maybe thought about some answers, but I didn't really prepare.
I straight up didn't even really look at the questions, even though I put them on the list. I hate to say it, but it's true. I was tired. Like, my brain wasn't on it. But you know what? I'm here, and we can answer these.
Oh, good old complexities of adult life.
It's so true. So let's hit some of these questions.
Yeah, let's do this.
It's going to sound weird that we're just going right to questions, but it's going to happen. And if you jump on the channel, please, like Knox has, and chat with us. All right. Speaking of Knox, you got the hyped up for the first question here. Mm-hmm. What are some of the challenges in transitioning from GM/DM back to player? I've heard it can be difficult, but I have no context.
I love this question.
Well, I did it. And it wasn't so much a transition as it was a dump. Because I couldn't run things when I was, and then when I was getting back to it, I was like, I have nothing under my feet, and I think it was liberating for me to be able to listen to someone else. And I appreciated the story and I appreciated the players. But I will say I have a natural leadership thing that I do, and it sits me better in a storyteller position because of that.
Yep.
And it really, I had to pull that rein so hard back in my own head.
Yeah.
It's different. It is different.
That struggle is real. I started thinking about my own difficulties with that. And Knox is actually in the game that I play in.
Oh, Lord.
That I don't storytell, so he's seen this firsthand.
Okay.
But I started thinking about my own struggles, and as I was thinking about them, I'm like, oh God, this is all stuff that Rob kind of does in my game as well. And I completely, and I don't get me wrong, I understand where it comes from. But I see the exact same thing, I think, in both of us. And that is, as a storyteller, you have it's your job to fill the empty space. You keep the action moving, and you are supposed to be telling the story, hence the name storyteller. It's right on the tin. And so when there are dead spots in the table's RP, you feel the need to jump in and do something. And give the big speech and be the premier character right in the forefront and steal the limelight. And so for me, it's a combination of backing down and handing the limelight to other players at the table, because there's it's an anxiety thing. Like, if there's dead air, I feel like I should be filling it.
See, I don't feel about that. Like, the other part of me is, and I was in another game. And I think I talked about it here, and I just felt like the players were shitting on a beautiful story. they really weren't giving it all. Like 2 of the players were late, and like the other, and there was a lot of side chatter, and I was just like, this person's wrote all this material and has worked really hard on doing this stuff, and you're literally crapping on it. And I felt like bad. I'm like, and I got angry at one of the sessions, like straight up angry at one of the sessions. Like, guys, are we playing this game or not? Like, if we're just going to take the night off, we'll take the night off, but don't freaking just half-ass it and then be like, I don't know what's going on because I didn't hear. Mm-hmm. Like, you weren't listening. You were literally having a side conversation, and there's 4 of us here. That's it. Just 4 of us. Yeah. Kind of a thing. So yeah, it was hard. It's hard for me from that aspect because I have an appreciation that's different. So.
Do you find that you have a little bit of trouble not rules lawyering a little bit too?
Not at all. I let go of that completely.
Really?
Yep, 100%.
Oh, see that.
The only thing that I look at is on my side of the coin. I'm like, what can I do as this character? Because again, I don't deep dive focus as a storyteller.
Sure.
I look at the mechanics at the time that I'm using them, but I don't try as hard to use the mechanics as a leverage against my players. I may use them in unique ways, but for the most part, like I'm a heroic DM.
No. I think more what I mean is, and this is I bring this up because this is a personal struggle of mine. Is as a DM, I know the rules well enough to be able to quote a lot of them off the top of my head, and therefore, when a different storyteller makes a different call, there's a source of like, no, I know this one. I'm qualified. I can tell you exactly how it's supposed to happen. But
nope.
Deep breath, Sarah. You're the storyteller, and you're the one telling me how it goes. Okay, so
and I roll back on that. Now, a few times I'll go and pre-check rules, so I can be like, I'll be like, okay, I just saw this on this page, and this way it goes. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm like, okay, that's not too bad.
Well, that's different. That's being a responsible player.
Yeah. So but like I just watched something about casting 2 spells in a single action because it's a cantrip, not a spell.
Right.
And I was like trying to understand that. I'm like, okay, that's a 5th edition piece of architecture that I wasn't comfortable with. I now know more about. But I literally just like in your game, I'm like, can I do that? You're like, no. I'm like, all right, well, I'll look that up later. And I just kind of let it roll off my shoulder. I didn't get like, I'm not sure about that. I'm like, no, seriously, it didn't even freaking matter.
Yeah.
Like I just let it go. And I think that's because I've gotten used to I've gotten used to the fact that I know a storyteller is on the fly, and that's okay. So
yeah, right on.
All right. So I think that helps.
I think that helps.
All right. Mad Elf had a question, actually 2, but we're gonna see if we can combine these.
Whatever.
How do you manage large groups of players 6+? What is let's start with that one. That's kind of a separate question on its own. I look at it. First off, I don't.
Headaches,
drinking. I really don't. I do not understand some of the people in our Discord discussion who can do this.
Curled up in a dark room with a cat cuddled up against me, crying, asking myself why.
Yeah.
No, seriously though. It's a challenge.
Hey, Technolich.
Welcome to the board. Definitely.
Yeah, I just I think if I had, I have ran groups larger than 6. I've just elected not to anymore because I don't want my players to feel left out or forgotten or set to the side. A few times that I did, like my 7th Sea games, I scene chopped. I would look at who had scenes last game, and I'd make new scenes, and I would do it like a sitcom. To make sure that I had characters getting what they needed.
Yeah.
And getting their scenes and getting their moments and rolling through it where other people are. So I think that's how I'd handle it. How I just tend to handle things.
I don't know that I have any special like techniques for handling a group of 6+ more than handling 4.
Raise hand, swing right, swing left.
Yeah, pretty much. Just use a larger club.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. So,
but I kind of like Knox's suggestion here in the Discord. It says 6+ players is now a potluck.
I mean that's true. You should always bring food.
So yeah, that's how you handle them. Is you get extra food out of them.
Yeah, I think that would be it too.
You exploit them for their what do they call them, quick pots or?
What
those crock pot things that
hot pots or
hot pot, quick pots or something
or Instapots.
Instapot, yeah.
It's Instapot party. That's what the kids call it, right?
all the kids nowadays.
Yeah. All right. The second part of the question: what one game system you've wanted to run, which you have not had the opportunity yet? Why do you want to run that game in that? Why do you want to run a game in that system? Oh.
Okay, well, you're thinking I've got an answer to this one.
Just go ahead.
Because I pre-prepped.
Go ahead.
All right, so the two that stick out off the top of my head are both Dread. As much as I've repped it on this show, I've never gotten a chance to play it.
You should do it.
I really should.
Yep.
But I've got a little thing of why we haven't played that yet. But I think a later question addresses that, so I may loop back around to it.
Fair enough. You can hold off.
But yeah, I've never had a chance to play Dread. And ever since you shot me over the rulebook for Urban Shadows, yeah, that one's been stewing.
Yeah, there are some games that I've looked at, like it's weird to say it, but like I've never actually ran Vampire the Masquerade.
Really?
Or Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Huh.
I've played in games, but I've never ran it.
Oh God, now I'm thinking back and like I don't know that I've run. No, I have. I ran a mixed World of Darkness game, which was wild.
But I think like I think the main reason why I'd want to run it is because I like the richness of the environment. I like the world. I don't necessarily like the system. There are obvious breaks in the system, and you need the right players who aren't just going to, look for chum in the water, if you will, moments. Yeah. But it's a role play heavy, really, system, especially like World of Darkness. Like the Dark Ages is one of my favorite settings.
Yep.
Because there's so much changing at that time, and you can play with the world in so many cool ways. And I think it would be a neat thing to run a Vampire the Masquerade game that is more like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen style.
Oh, that could be very cool.
Where they're not necessarily part of the Camarilla or the Sabbat. They're those either they exist, but they are literally shadow societies. They are not overt to the world, and these are Lord or Legion-less people who have come together under a different banner.
I like it.
A commonality. So I think that's the kind of thing. So it's something I just haven't ran yet or talked about because there are other stories that I have to get through.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest reason why like I haven't done a lot of these games is because there's just so many game systems in so little time. And then once I got out of high school and into the trials and tribulations of adult life, then suddenly
and we're not getting paid for this shit.
Yeah,
so.
And I think I said on an earlier episode too. The reason I got into Warhammer was because I couldn't keep a D&D game going for longer than 3 sessions, and so I wanted a game I could get into that I could play an entire session in one sitting.
Yep. I'm with you.
You mentioned World of Darkness, though. Actually.
Yeah, I did.
That actually reminds me of another game that I've never played, and it's Wraith.
I've never played Wraith either.
It's probably my favorite of the rules systems and like of the themes.
Okay,
but I really hated the setting that they wrote for it, so I was just going to throw the setting completely out and just play my own kind of like homebrew setting for it. But I'm a huge fan, as you know, of the Silent Hill series.
Oh yeah, it would totally be your thing.
And specifically Silent Hill 2, which I think we can all agree was the best Silent Hill game. Fight me at @ST_conclave.
I'm just gonna agree with you.
Oh yeah, and I've always really liked that story. And to me, like I thought Silent Hill would be an amazing story to tell if indeed the main character were dead. And then all the crazy monsters and the fog and the fact that, spatial relations seem to start fading into weird interpretive ways. You can journey for miles in a single direction and come out on the other side of the block, sort of things.
Exactly.
All those things make perfect sense in the Shadowlands.
Yes.
And so if you were a ghost, that would be the perfect setting. And that's exactly how I wanted to run it, was Silent Hill, the tabletop game.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it. It'd be an easy transition. It's just a setting. Cool. All right, Technolich, welcome to the party.
Yeah.
You have a question. Is there any campaign adventure from early days that you'd want to revisit running now that you know what you're doing in theory? Yes, definitely.
Probably every single one of them.
I wouldn't say every single one of them, but there were definitely some games that I would totally want to rerun. I had a really cool Rifts game that I ran that my players were just I didn't know how to manage them, and I didn't know how to move through the story right, and I did a lot of dumb things in it. But looking back and thinking on some of the notes that I had, it was really good. Like the ideas were really good and original and fun. And I think that would have been a good one. And I actually made my own Robotech modules that had maps and all kinds of crazy stuff to them. And the guys, the people that I were playing with, I couldn't keep them focused.
Yeah.
And I felt like those would be better,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I definitely have ideas.
If I could go back and redo the homebrew campaign that I was working on since high school, I told a really big story in there that was essentially just a ripped off Final Fantasy story, and it came out pretty good.
Nothing wrong with that.
Cool little globe-trotting adventure to find these elemental crystals and thwart this big bad evil guy who wanted to resurrect an ancient race of quasi-evil dudes.
Funny how that all works out.
But it was good. I just think there would be a lot of cool things that now that I'm an experienced storyteller, not a high school senior, that I'd probably do different.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Hope that answers your question there, Technolitch. Madolf asked, funniest moment at a table where you've been a storyteller.
Oh God, I had to think long and hard about this one.
I'm gonna need help, honestly, because we've had some funny ass moments together where I've been storytelling and just crap's gone whichever direction. I can remember one of the funniest moments ever playing a game, and I can't remember. I don't think I was telling that story. I think somebody else was doing the storytelling, and that was it was a 7th Sea game that had a couple people in it, but one of the people in it was a explorer, and he had a lot of lore knowledge. He was just really smart. And one of the characters was a fae, a she. And one of the quirks about the she is you've got all these things that you have to take as quirks or as issues, like can't cross running water, iron either injures you or can kill you, and one of the things is that a lot of times they tend to steal babies and take them back to the she realm. They literally just drop them in pools that take it right to the she realm, and it's like a psychological thing. And they'll leave. That when they steal the babies, they'll leave sticks transformed as the child there, and the next morning it'll just be a bundle of sticks left.
Yeah.
But when they take the baby, they usually conceal them in some way. And so she comes back to the caravan after going into town with everybody else with a puppy. And everybody's talking and doing other things. And literally the explorer just looks over her. He picks up his scoop of brain dice, basically, rolls a bunch of 10-siders, like 9 of them explode. And he just, without missing a beat, just looks over and goes, "You put that baby back. You put that baby back right now." Because he just knew, without a shadow of a doubt, there was no question that he was going to know what that was. Because he rolled like 50 on his dice instantaneously. And he was just like, just without even reading what his dice were, you could just see it on the table. You're like, "You put that baby back. You
what
put
is
that
it,
baby back."
about 25 or so was a critical success?
Oh, it's something like that, yeah. So he just blew right through it. But it was just so funny that he immediately just broke to, "You put that baby back. You put that baby back now." What are you talking about? That is not a puppy. That is a baby. Like, you did not have a puppy before.
Were you storytelling in the game that the surgeon came out from the other room after pulling musket balls out of the guy and came into the interrogation of the captured guy?
I'm going to tell the story.
Okay.
Right. I'll get you the situation. There was a caravan. You had just taken out everybody on the caravan, so that you had literally a group. You had one guy pinned down on one side and bodies on the other, but that guy didn't know what was going on. And that was the situation, was that interrogations were happening on both sides.
Oh,
quote unquote.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the surgeon comes around the other side to the interrogation and goes, and covered in blood, up to his elbows, and just goes, "Well, my interrogation didn't go so well. How's yours?" The guy instantly spills his guts. Yep. "This is what I know. This is what's going on.
I'll tell you anything else you need to know. He's right over there. I will walk you there personally and point it out. I will literally tell you that guy's the guy you want to kill." I work for Vicini.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty spot on. Funny enough, both the same person.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
In both cases. So he's just funny. He has moments that are just unreal.
We've had a lot of funny moments at the table, but I don't I really had to kind of rack my brain for things that happened while I was storytelling them.
Oh, no. I know one just recently.
Oh, I mean, I think of one just recently, too. I was trying to think back.
Oh,
the
further?
problem.
Yeah.
But I know exactly the one I'm dropping out as my recent one. Yes, exactly.
All I did was I did a little
air guitar.
Little air guitar. It was all it is needed.
So this one, the party was traveling from one major city to the other. And along the road, they had to stop for the night. And there are several inns along this major road. Essentially, they were going down what is essentially a freeway of this world. Mm-hmm. And so they stopped at one of the major inns. It was just along this road for all the weary travelers making this exact same journey. And that night, they happened to have a battle of the bards going on.
They did.
And so our much storied resident asshole noble bard, Lord Thalion Arroway, entered himself into this contest. And when asked what name he should be put on the roster as, with a twinkle in his eye and a grin on his cheek, he said, "Just put me down as Arrowsmith."
We all then stood up.
There was a 5-minute break.
We were all just clapping. We were all laughing and clapping. It was beautiful.
I think that one takes the cake for right now, yeah.
Yep. That's true. All right. We've got one from Overwatch here. You are designing your own game system world. Each of you get 2 key points you want to include in the new game. They can be mechanical, setting-wise, design, philosophy, whatever.
Oh, God.
So we each get 2.
Designing your own game system or world, you each get 2 key points you'd want to include in your new game. It can be mechanical, setting-wise, design, philosophy, or whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Overwatch. Overwatch, okay.
Yeah.
I'll
let you go first. Ladies first.
All right. So what's important to me in a game system is
consistency.
Well, that's in world building. But I do like it in a game system as well.
Okay.
No, but I think the key feature for a game system to me is I am very anti-crunch.
Okay.
So I like a game system that lays enough rules down to guide me through how to adjudicate the game, but then gets the hell out of my way and lets me role play.
Okay.
So for me, I think 5th edition is a great butter zone for me because there's a lot of ambiguity in the rules. There's just kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, this skill kind of covers that activity. Sure, make it a diplomacy check.
Okay.
You know, there's not. I mean, if you look up the definitions for the skills and stuff like that, like 3rd edition D&D had these big, long, elaborate, like, well, if you make a medicine check of 5, you can do this, and if you make it of 10, you can do this, and a 12 will do this, and a 15 will allow you to do this, you know. But if you have a medicine kit, then it works in these completely different ways. And 5th edition is just kind of like, this skill is for medical knowledge and for treating wounds with first aid and stuff. Oh, okay.
I mean, that's kind of 7th C for me.
Cool.
Is that it's very light in that sense.
Yeah.
And again, I like it for that reason.
Because it allows you, as the storyteller, the freedom to say what that rule means.
Right.
And I can understand where, as a player, that might be a little frustrating because there aren't hard definitions on things. But I at least find in my experience that crunch tends to lend to people worrying more about the numbers than they are worrying about the situation.
Right.
I don't want you as a player worrying about, well, do I have a high enough medicine skill to treat this person's gunshot wound? And I more or less, I want you focusing on the idea that you have medicine written on your sheet and your friend has just been shot.
Yes. Do you have?
And oh God, I want to help them because they've been shot. Oh, I'm going to help. I'm going to help in whatever way I can. Not, oh, sorry, my medicine skill's not high enough. Now let's make this perfectly calculated move because this is now a strategy game.
Yeah, I also, one of the things that I would extract from 7th C that I really like was the villains kill heroes.
Yeah.
That simple philosophy is so much in my head now because it changes the way the game is played. You do feel masterful and graceful in everything you're doing because you know that it's a movie. You're enjoying the moment in the scene. You're not worrying about getting ground down by the giant who's literally going to over damage you, and then your friends are never going to be able to save you, and so this character is just going to be dead. Instead, yeah, he might overpower you and club you over the head. But like Luke Skywalker, you're going to wake up strapped to the ceiling with your weapon just out of reach and, hanging quietly, slightly unconscious and injured.
Yeah.
That's the kind of scene that I want to evoke. I want my players to not fret about losing something they've made to something trivial, like tripping over your shoelaces. That's the kind of thing. I like that. I would definitely include that in a game I built.
And see, I know a lot of people disagree with. I know you and I share the same philosophy on that. Like I think that we've talked about that and agreed on that a dozen times. But I know there are a lot of other people out there who disagree with that. And to me, I mean, the only question I would pose to you is, what fun is a story ending?
Wrap up has its flavor.
Wrap up does have its flavor if there is good closure to it.
Everybody likes good dessert.
Yeah, but like killed by a random orc. I don't want my story to end that way. You don't want your story to end that way.
No. And I think if I was going to add a fun mechanic to a game that I've always thought was smart, like something simple and smart, it's honestly Shadowrun's Johnson. It was such a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Because one of the hardest things is, why are all your players together?
We got hired.
Exactly.
That's exactly it. Yep.
All you have to do is figure out why you're with that Johnson. And then it's complete the damn mission.
Yep.
And that's it. It's that simple. You're mercs. You work together because you have to. And you're told to. That's it. Simple as that. And it's like, okay, that's great because you have the players who don't know how to make a backstory or aren't comfortable with the whole social logistics thing or anything like that. And they can still play along with someone who is a face character, who likes to know everybody and who will talk about anything and explain their tragic 26-page backstory. And yet they're literally on the exact same playing field because they're in it either for the money or the fame, but they're in it for the Johnson. I mean, that's it.
So's your mom.
Oh, and with that, we've just demonetized our whole thing.
So let me ask you this. I'm gonna segue briefly out of our listed question. Yeah. But because you kind of brought something up and made me think of something.
Sure.
I've not played a lot of Shadowrun. So do people ever like bring 3 or 4 characters and then decide which one gets hired for the job, so that you have a different team every time? Because that's the thing, and that for me, that's where the whole, the Johnson hiring you for the job thing kind of falls apart. Is after the next job, you all go your separate ways, and then coincidentally, you just all get hired for the same job the next time.
No, because you were a good team. Because you were a good team, and it worked out. So he calls you back again. It does, and what happens in between your team jobs are just that. It could be months, it could be weeks, it could be days. But he's just like, hey, you guys all work together really well on this type of job, so I pulled you all back again. That's where it comes from.
Do you think it would work to have a pool of characters and assemble your team?
It would be totally different. I think with the right role players, you could pull that off. I think it would get challenging otherwise.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, shortly going into the realm, you're quickly going to the realm of crazies where you have multiple personalities with different skill sets.
Yes.
Yeah. Vote with your Johnson. Nice. Monologuing is in the villain rule book. It is. It is totally in there. It is. Dude, I will say that if you're thinking about running 7C, learn to monologue. It's something you just have to have.
Oh god, I always want my villains to monologue, but I always have players that just get pissed with them and want to shoot them halfway through their monologue. You guys have done that to my bandits like 3 times already, by the way.
Yeah.
I have had the dude on the road who's like, well, if you want to pass by here, you have to pay the toll. And he gets an arrow in the chest before he's like, well,
yep.
Roll initiative, you know?
Yeah. Well, again, that's, I'm just going to say, I'm asserting my dominance, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yep.
All right. Have you ever drank Bailey's from a shoe? I love that opening of this question. Because you ready? What the first thing I get the image of, and I have to say it, it's the love story in Red. Retired and Extremely Dangerous, the movie.
Yep.
Between the sniper and the Russian. I love their love story. It is incredible because in the second movie, he's literally holding her shoe and sniffing it because he's in so much love with her. He's so deeply and passionately in love with that woman. So when I read that line, I'm like, I bet he has. And I know the shoe he's done it from.
I have to interrupt this train of thought briefly.
Oh no, what's up?
Because my beloved
what now?
Is on the Discord and just accused me of doing that thing to his villain. And I need to address this.
Oh no! All right. Well, I'm gonna sit back. Go ahead.
No. It'll be brief. It'll be brief because I'm right. And Knox in a Box was there.
You ready? It'll be brief because you have a microphone and he doesn't. So he's going to listen to every
damn word I have to say. Yes.
So by all means, the mic is yours.
And Knox helped exactly because Knox was at the table too. So no, I let his villain monologue. I sat there and listened to her lie straight to our face. He says, "Oops, the stream died."
Yep. Too bad. Recording. It's going to be live.
It's recording.
Yeah.
No. I let his villain monologue. Okay. So we were playing Temple of Elemental Evil, or the Princes of the Apocalypse, I believe they call it now in 5th edition.
Okay.
And so we found the elemental leader of the air cult, essentially. And my character had made an enemy of a lesser lieutenant of hers.
Okay.
And honestly, was hunting that guy for essentially war crimes that he had committed.
Sure.
And stumbled into her by chance.
Okay.
And so she's like, "Oh, you have come to my domain," and I'm like, "Yeah. Where's Thurl? Where's this lieutenant of yours? I don't even care about you.
Yeah.
I know you're the leader, but whatever.
Where's
your lieutenant?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, Thurl. Oh, I haven't seen him in, oh my goodness, it must have been months now." I'm like, "I know you're full of crap because I have a signed letter from you telling him he's doing an excellent job from like last week.
So,
okay,
shut it.
So cut the crap. Where is he?" And she's like, "Oh, well, you don't have to be harsh about it. Why don't you join?" I'm like, "I am done listening to you now." Okay, if you're not going to tell me where Thurl is, you are officially useless, and I have a fireball with your name on it. And so Nox silenced her. I fireballed her, and her invisible stalker bodyguard was harder than she was.
Oh wow!
That's
charred remains was what was left.
Yeah, yeah,
Dusty.
Yeah,
Dusty.
Yeah.
Well, we're just gonna call that Dusty. Dusty.
Nox says, "I took that lady's spear. Nox possesses Wind Vein. I blocked her horn and that summons a djinn." Spoilers, by the way.
Oh, that's
with
fantastic.
A silent spell on
that is fantastic.
On accident.
On accident.
Yep.
Not unlike on accident stopping the Dreadlord with heating his armor.
Yeah, and I didn't. And for the record, I didn't know I scared him off to Waterdeep. I thought he would have run home to Mama. So I went to go see Mama, and she gave me a big line of crap. So I blew her up.
Now, you think he's coming back now? Do you think he's coming back now?
No. We went to Waterdeep to hunt his ass down.
All right.
That's why we went to Waterdeep.
So back
and that's
to
where
this
the story
question,
left off.
And
But
we're gonna crump right back to reality.
But I digress.
All right. So have you ever drank Bailey's from a shoe? But really, have you ever found yourself falling in love with one of the characters in the game you were running? Not romantic, but completely incapacitated. Yes. Vision scenarios, writing plots. Yeah. A lot of my 7C characters got very cinematic in my mind, and I would design scenes for them. And I found that was actually a really important part of that system, is you want to fall in love with those heroes. You want to give them cinematic moments and things that go that way. And a lot of times it didn't have much to do with the player. It just had much to do with the role play and how that player was developing with that character.
Yeah, I've done this before in D&D games.
Okay.
But I'm going to be dead honest. It's been a while.
Sure.
It's been a while. I haven't quite fallen in love with anybody in our current group. I love them all. Mm-hmm. I haven't fallen in love with them.
It's early.
To the point where I'm like, oh, this scene has to happen for this character.
Right.
Well, no, maybe
See. Now that you've said that, you're thinking.
Oh, yeah, there might be a reason why you're holding Meridia's beacon right now. Because that might have had something to do with like.
But it comes from a triggered moment. You see something and you're like, it immediately triggers that I have a vision of where this could go.
Yeah,
and that's legitimate. Like I had a vision of where things were going to end up with Memnon's character.
Yeah.
And I just knew there was a point in the story where something changed, and I went, right there. That's where I see a scene in the future for this. And I gave you guys that scene as a primer for the next act completely. And it was part of that whole feeling is that I know where this is going to end up. So yeah, totally. No, I think that's 100% something storytellers do. The hard part is knowing when it's too much. When it should be a scene. It should be candid and comparable with other players. You should always fall in love with all of your characters and run things. But if there's a moment or a scene, there's definitely things like that happen. So, Mad Elf, I like your question. I knew this could have gotten weird, but single malt, bourbon, whiskey, rum, or rye?
Oh, this is the big question of the evening, isn't it?
Well, it's one of them.
I don't know. I know you've got opinions on this one, but
I used to be a rum drinker, I really did, and I still love good rums. There's been a few ryes that have turned my eyes, but not often. Bourbon, bourbons are amazing.
I know you love bourbon.
I love a good bourbon. I love a good single malt. There are some whiskeys that are incredible, that are just incredible, but I would have to say bourbon. I would definitely have to say bourbon.
So I'm not a big drinker anymore. Back in my 20s though.
Yeah,
I could pack away some rum quite a bit. I never really got into ryes or bourbons or any of that sort of ilk. But it just the flavor just never really did anything for me. I've always found rum a lot more flavorful.
I'm on gins now. Like I still drink my bourbons, but like. There's something about gin for me now, and they're different. Like I've found some incredible. I just found an orange, cinnamon, and what was the other thing that was in it? Clove gin, and it's incredible. You could sip it.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
It was absolutely incredible. We actually were making hot toddies with it while we were not feeling well over the weekend. It was perfect.
Very nice.
So yeah, I would say. Much like the plethora put forth by Mad Elf, remember that there are different types of every flavor. So though you may be a fighter type of person, that does not mean that a ranger should be outside of your realm because you're not a ranger type.
Oh, you brought it back around.
I did.
I'm going to bring it back around too.
Oh.
Until very, very recently of my last birthday when you guys bought me dice as a birthday present.
Yeah.
And a new dice bag to go with it.
Yeah.
My dice bag was a Captain Morgan private stock bag that I had kicking around since college.
Wow. Wow. So
that's how old that is.
Well, I mean, but I think that says something on its own. Is like, I know for me that it is tradition that if you're starting gaming, that you have a collection of random dice as your first dice, and that if you're playing a game, you go and buy your first dice set, and the dice bag that you put that in is a Crown Royal bag. Because everybody puts it in a Crown Royal bag to start with.
It's a rite of passage.
You know, and you bring that bottle of Crown Royal with you, because we're all drinking some.
Absolutely, yeah. And even if you don't drink it,
that's right.
We will.
That's right.
Here's your new dice bag.
Exactly. And now I don't know if you give somebody their dice. I mean, there's all kinds of ceremonies for dice. I think dice should be chosen by the player.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a superstitious thing, you know.
Yeah, it is. And like, I mean, there's people like, I know Overwatch literally buys new dice for every new character.
Yeah.
Like if he's playing a new game, new dice. The man's got dice.
Do you have lucky dice?
No.
Yeah?
No. I treat all my dice like beautiful children.
Okay.
And redheaded stepchildren all at the same time. Like I have my dice for 7th Sea because they're color coded and they help me for that. To be able to say, okay, these are my drama dice. I know how much of these I have. These are my villain dice. I'm going to make sure they're over here. Because a lot of times you're holding dice, you're keeping dice in patterns and things like that. And I want to be able to do that. But like if I'm doing stuff like I've never gotten to the point where like I've gone so far as to say like I have fireball dice. Like these are the dice that I use to throw fireballs damage, you know, kind of things like that.
Right.
So I think that's definitely something that some people do, and I don't fault anybody for doing that whatsoever. because I think it's important because it is ritualistic. Our game is very ritualistic. It's very
sure.
It has its own points to that, and because it is a game of randomness inherently,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that luck. You're gonna have that those good dice or that tray that you're gonna use. Like Erica throwing her tray away. Like she's like, screw this tray today.
Yep.
I want nothing to do with this.
Yep.
You know what? If you need to then wash it under the moonlight for a month, or for 2 fortnights, so that it may cleanse itself of the dark, feelings, whatever. Do what you need to do.
I saw at our local hobby shop. They had 3D printed dice jails on sale.
Okay, yeah, no, I've seen those. I've seen those. They're nice.
Yeah, so when your dice are bad,
you put them in dice jail.
You just put them in dice jail.
Yeah.
So Knox is over here on the Discord saying that he bought his dice in bulk and it came as 10 mini bags in one big gray bag. I've done it all wrong. He says he's never had the booze bag.
Dude, you got to get a booze bag.
We're gonna fix that for you.
We'll totally fix that. We will ship you one or something,
and then we will kill the bottle some Saturday night.
Oh yeah, or just bring it to the show.
And then Heatsink is saying he would buy new dice for every one of his Vampire the Masquerade characters.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, I get that.
And then, but for D&D, he would just use his pool of dice. So D&D wasn't special enough, but Vampire the Masquerade,
pool, yeah.
I
mean, 7th Sea, it's only 10-siders, right? So same with Vampire. You're dealing with a set of dice. You're not dealing with mixed dice.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier, I would say. Definitely easier to get a set.
Mm-hmm.
And then the worst thing ever, trying to find dice to fill out, I need 3 more 10-siders that are this cerulean blue. You'll never find those again.
No, you will never will. You never will. They're like unique little snowflakes with numbers on them.
You ready? When we are old and decrepit, people will be trading dice. You realize that. They're going to be like our China. I don't have a full set of these. I'm still looking for one
Honey, come over here and
double-digit D10 so I can have a full percentile.
Or it's going to be like, honey, come sit down next to Grandma. I'm going to be reaching the end of my life soon, so I want you to know that, when the time comes, these belong to you, okay? These rolled crits for every single one of Grandma's hits, okay?
And you're either going to get, the one kid who's like, oh, God, dice. And then the other kid, are those Chessex? Are those 1860 Chessex golds?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're going to know. They're just going to know. And they're going to immediately be on eBay like, dude, the D20s on those for $9 a piece if they're pristine. I mean, are they still? Oh, they're still pointy. Oh, the D4 is still pointy. That could hurt somebody.
Right.
Yes, we're totally doing that.
That's why you take good care of them, honey. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the fine china.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. That's the kind of crap that I want to hear when I'm old and laugh about, because that's going to be badass.
That's amazing.
All right. So we have 20 minutes to go over 3 things that I've got in here. And I thought this would be fun. You can grab one of these. I don't care which one it is.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. I actually liked this one here from the Mad Elf.
Okay.
Compare and contrast. Pick a game idea to run and then find your players, or pick your players and then decide on a game.
I've never done the second one.
I've never done the second one either.
Yeah, I
kind of have it's never been pick my players and then pick a game. It's more like I know my pool of players and that informs the game choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think, remember earlier in our discussion, I said I was going to talk about why I haven't ever
off the shelf.
Why I haven't ever played Dread.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason why.
Yeah.
Because in my pool of players, I don't have really any or many at all who enjoy horror storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't have an audience for it.
Yeah.
I would love to, but
we need a storyteller Facebook where all of our friends can go look for games for the storyteller.
Yeah.
And make it a little more
just
functional.
like a post board.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Where it's like, hey, I'm thinking about running this game. Is there anybody of my friends who are interested in this? And they can be like, and then you can be like, slot. Yep, there's a game. I can now run this. Kind of a thing. It's weird. It's weird that we haven't gotten to that point,
Yeah. I worry sometimes maybe that like, you know, my gaming group has gotten a little too
narrow.
Yeah, narrow maybe. But like I haven't had a chance to storytell for Matthew until now.
Right. See?
I haven't had a chance to storytell for Steve until now. I mean, Steve and I really didn't even hang out until now.
Yeah,
I mean,
I never gamed with Sean.
Yeah, exactly. So it's getting a little better, I think. But for a while there, like you and Vicky and Erica were like the only people I gamed with.
Yeah, Trev,
yeah,
Chris,
yeah. That was it.
Yeah,
that was the crew.
Okay, fair enough. Technolich said, I am in need of help. I am trying to convert Vampire the Masquerade disciplines into spell-like abilities for D&D. I have ideas for Most, an idea for Vicissitude. What I'm looking for ideas for Lasombra Obtemperation ability. Wow.
The immediate answer that came out of my mouth,
yep,
because I did respond to this on the Discord, was Ivard's Black Tentacles.
No, I agree. I think that's solid.
But what else does Obtemperation do? Because I know it's got. I mean, there's like usually 5 tiers to the powers.
Correct. But I still think those are all individual spells.
And Black Tentacles, I know, is one of them.
Right. Now you've got me looking this up.
While you're looking it up, Nox says Spotlight series, different game every week.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that would get hectic. But running a series of one shots for different people, that could be cool. That could be cool.
Yes. Okay, here we go. What it's the
Obtemperation, yeah.
There we go.
Obtemperation for the Lasombra.
Yep. Official abilities. Come on, give me the official abilities. Shadow play, which is easy. I think that's illusion.
Yeah, that's kind of like minor illusion, but it's very focused on shadows.
Shroud of the Night, darkness. Darkness.
Okay.
Because it's a blanket area, cloud, unnatural shadow, obscures light, sound, and heat.
Yep. Okay, so we've got essentially minor image or prestidigitation possibly for the shadow play. You've got darkness next.
Yep. Arms of the Abyss.
That's Ivard's Black Tentacles.
Yep. Black Metamorphosis. In case your body in Night Marsh armor, grow black tentacles from your sides. So that's a
No. There's a spell in 5th ed. It's out of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Go on to the 5th one because I am going to be looking this up on D&D.
Okay. Night Shades create temporary objects made of shadow. I think that's like I think that'd be any number of spells that would do that because you can
create what out of shadow?
Temporary objects. What's the one that lets you create a temporary object that's less than a pound and less than 1
minor creation?
Yeah, so that's all it is. Minor creation, except that it's caveat of shadow. And Tenebrous form transform into pure shadow that can only be harmed by fire, sunlight, or magic. That sounds a lot like intangibility.
There's like a mist walk ability, I think.
Yeah, it's one of the intangibles.
Yeah.
So
why is D&D Beyond?
I mean, you've got advanced powers in here, which is like Aegis of Shadows, cover yourself in powerful shadow armor, which is pretty much the same thing. See without light, even through supernatural darkness, blah, blah, blah. Shadow Step, teleport, that's easy enough. Shadow Parasite. Actually, Shadow Step, teleport from a shadow to another shadow is Blink. It's Shadow Blink.
Yeah, there's a number of spells. Misty Step also kind of does that as well.
Shadow Parasite, grow a black tentacle within target until it kills them. That's interesting. That one's got a length on it. Shadow Perception, move senses to a nearby shadow. That's actually kind of cool. That's where you can listen at range.
Clairvoyance.
Clairvoyance, yes.
Clairvoyance.
And then you've got darkness within, cover target in a horrid shadow that drains them of blood.
Oh. Wow. Okay.
That just sounds like
cover them in a shadow that drains them of blood. That's just Vampiric Touch, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's range.
Yeah, but I think Vampiric Touch might be range in 5th edition. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I think there's definitely easy runs for all of these.
Yeah.
I would honestly say there's easy runs for all of these. So I think as a channel we could easily dissect this, but I like that you're doing this. I think that's cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It gives a lot of different flavor than just, rawr, I have a draining touch and I'm really tough and I regenerate. You know?
Do you want to hit another one here?
Yeah, absolutely.
We got time? Go for it.
We got plenty of time. What are we doing here? Draven.
There you go.
Draven would like to ask us, when it comes to things like vampires, particularly very old ones, I love when there's things in the domain/castle that don't make sense. It's like, I know how much weird junk I have in my house IRL. I can only imagine what I'd have collected if I were immortal.
Dude, I love this. This discussion.
This was a great discussion. Yeah,
because it's basically Better Homes and Gardening or Trading Spaces.
Immortal Edition.
Yeah, Immortal Edition, which I love the idea of that. Like, because you think like, oh, it's a big dark castle and all he has is a casket and like, cobwebs and stuff. No way. This guy's been around for that long. If it's anything contemporary, he's got some cool shit in that place.
Uh-huh.
He also has a bunch of crap that he's collected. Like, it's almost like from Thor Ragnarok, behold my stuff.
Right.
Because he just got it from everywhere. And
right.
He's got a shake weight. Like, he doesn't even know what it is. That's the kind of crap that I think really would be in a vampire's lair. Like, if he is as old as dirt, that man or woman has got to have a ton of crap. Hoarded.
Yeah.
That they can't get rid of because it's only going to go up in value, right?
Right. Right.
Because they've lived through crap. They probably lived through some terrible times as well.
Well,
like, look what depression did to our parents.
No, but even on a slightly more macabre level here, I mean, as an immortal, mortals around you live and then die.
Did you see Knox's comment? But you can't. But mobs and villagers burn your house down to the time. You can't be a hoarder. That's only if you're a bad vampire.
I was just thinking,
if you're a good lord, they're going to be like all about it. Like generations will be worshiping your home, thinking that like your generations have taken care of the land.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have all kinds of crap there.
But I just thought you'd gather a lot of stuff for sentimental value.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, because
every romance.
Here's a mortal I knew in the 1700s, and this was his favorite book.
Oh, dude!
And this is the
Highlander,
wedding dress for my
series.
17th dead wife.
Yeah, Highlander the series I think used to do that, where like he would pick up something in his house as like an art guy, because he was a historian and art collector, and he'd have things and he'd be like, oh, and suddenly it'd be a flashback to
right.
the 13th century when he's talking with fencing with somebody, and you're like, oh boy, that's what this is about. Like, oh, and that person's going to show up in this episode, I'm sure.
Yep.
Because they had unfinished business. It was another immortal. I could totally see that.
But real talk though,
okay.
if you were immortal, what would be the thing that you would hoard?
Like type of thing?
If someone raided your castle, and
what
put a stake through your house, what would give them pause and go, why the hell do they have an entire room devoted to this?
Books.
Okay.
But not non-standard books.
Probably like D&D books and stuff like that.
I mean, it would be like they'd open a room. Oh, we found his library. Yeah, but all of these are game books. What do you mean game books? Like different game books. Like open the corner there, you've got like McLord Callister's Book of Joyous Games from 803. Okay. Over in this corner is the complete set of 3rd edition. Why 3rd edition? Why 3rd edition?
Nobody liked that edition.
But he has the complete book set, and it's like the spines aren't even cracked. And then he's like, great, okay, can we get out of here? This is kind of weird. Open the next room. Is this a room of cookbooks? Just cookbooks?
Yeah.
Holy Lord, this is a room of cookbooks. Like, what is this? Why is every room a library?
Knox says that would be one hell of an estate sale.
Oh. Wine would be the other thing.
Yeah, I could see you having a monstrous wine cellar if you were an ancient
tiny
vampire
house
lord.
above ground, gigantic labyrinth of wine cellar below.
Yes.
Yes,
and you'd keep the Amontillado just in back.
Mm-hmm.
Right, just a little further back.
Yep.
A little further, there you are.
There, yep, exactly. Like, because at some point I might be able to drink it. At some point.
At some point.
When I become mortal again, I will be the drunkest mortal known to man.
Real talk. Let's see here. I think I would have a massive room dedicated to all of my unpainted miniatures.
Oh my God, think of the minis.
I would, because I know how many unpainted miniatures I have just in collecting over the last 20 years or so. And if I were immortal and had thousands of years to do that, oh wow.
Dude, you'd have every 3D printer printing everything you've ever wanted.
I mean, that might be.
You just a room with 3D printers printing models.
I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, it would be bad. It would be real bad.
Yeah.
It would be real bad.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of an obsession there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd probably also be that person. I'm that person also who doesn't throw out old technology because I might need a TI-86 calculator at some point in the future.
Dude, if I had $1 for every time I was like, I wish I still had a 5-inch floppy drive.
Right.
To take care of this client's issue. But I've gotten over that.
Yeah.
I've totally gotten over that now.
Why would I throw away a perfectly good zip drive? With a
Well, first off, you just said perfectly good and zip drive in the same statement. And we know that is not a true statement.
And you haven't leapt across the table to strangle me yet, so I admire your restraint.
I just remember them. I remember those. I remember the clicking. Oh, God, I remember the clicking.
Knox in the Box says that he needs to be immortal for all of his art projects.
That makes sense.
But
Legos,
sense, yes.
Legos, Technolich, Legos. Oh man,
Technolich says Legos.
Every Lego collection. Wow. There's a guy who's got 2 cargo containers now full. When he goes and buys a new one, he buys 2, and he puts one in a cargo container that's sealed, hermetically sealed.
What?
And he keeps doing that. It's stored underground in a dry, like there's a dry break, and he doesn't tell people where it's at, but apparently the value of one of his cargo containers is in excess of $7 million because of some of the sets that he has in it.
What?
But he has the set too. Like he built another.
No.
Version.
I mean, I'm with you. I just
he sold one to one person for like $160,000 for one of the sets because they just wanted it.
Oh my goodness!
Because there were only like 300 that were even remotely available, and most of those were built, and this was still sealed in box.
I have a tough time with that. I'm not that person who can just buy things and just like collect them and not touch them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose that's why he buys 2, so he can have his cake and eat it
that
too.
That was the difference. Is his father was like a stamp collector, and when he didn't like stamps at all because it's tiny art, and he was just like, I don't get this. But then he started playing with Legos, and his dad was like, well, you can collect Legos. It's kind of sometimes cheaper. And so he did. And he just didn't stop.
And now this guy's a bazillionaire because he hoards
No,
Legos.
He's not, actually. He's very modest.
Really?
But because a lot of his money goes into protection of what he's got.
Okay.
And what's funny is Lego has contacted him a few times about things that he's had from his past.
You say a lot of his money goes into protection, and all I can think is, this is a very nice Lego collection you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
I'd have a funny feeling that like a whole bunch of like Lego ninjas would whip out of nowhere and be like, nothing is going to happen to it.
For $9 million, we can make sure nothing happens to it. Probably.
Oh, shots fired.
Uh-oh.
Well, this has been a good show, but no, not just yet.
Hey, no. Look, I openly admitted to buying all those minis and never touching them. That's why I would have a room full of unpainted minis if I were immortal.
I've almost got mine primed.
I know.
Almost. I got some of them primed. I've got some of mine primed. Ninjago is canon.
Ninjago's
That's
canon.
true. It is true. There are actual ninjas in this wonderful world. So, next week.
Next week, I think we're going to start. Did we discuss we're going to start talking about themes?
I think so. I think just for the fun of it.
Yeah,
like we've kind of we've glazed the edge of it.
It's okay. It just glazed me.
Exactly. But I think there'd be some fun in that because there's a lot to be said about what themes can do for stories and for settings.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes we've been taking a look at it from a system perspective. And if we take a look at it from a theme perspective, we might see themes that can exist in other systems that you wouldn't normally think of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how to work with that. So I think we'll try and go that direction with it a little bit and give you guys a little different flavor, maybe give you a different idea if your brain's stuck in like fantasy.
Yeah. But there's a lot of different fantasies you can tell. There's dark fantasy, gothic horror, kind of like Ravenloft, or you can play high adventure fantasy like Dragonlance. You know, I mean, fantasy is not a theme. Fantasy is a genre.
Correct.
You know,
but there's a certain feel to it.
Yeah.
We'll explore some of that. If you guys have thoughts or feelings on themes in general or themes you want to see, like Knox apparently wants to talk about Halloween and spooky stuff, we might just get to that. Let us know.
We could get spoopy for Halloween, I think. That'd be okay.
Sounds good. All right, cue us up. Let's get some music going for this wrap-up.
All right, friends, you can find us on Twitter at @ST_conclave, also on Instagram at @ST_conclave. Our Discord server, which we have a lot of our Patreon members chatting in, and we pulled the questions off of tonight. If you want to join in this discussion and join in the fun talking with the rest of our members, you can find the link. It's the pinned tweet on our Twitter feed. It's also in every single one of our episode descriptions. So in your favorite podcast listening device there, go ahead and just look on the description. You'll find the link to our Discord. Join us in the fun.
And thank you to our Patreon members, Knox especially. You're doing a fantastic job of supporting us. The rest of you, join us so you can join us on these chats and add to our wonderful discussions. Our intro music is Beyond the Warriors by Guy Frog. I'm going to say that right. You can find him at gooeyfrogmusic at .weebly.com.
You're doing excellent.
Our outro music is Only in the Footprints by In the Sand by Midair Machine, and that can be found at soundcloud.com, Midair Machine. We record here at Podcast Detroit, and you can find them at Podcast Detroit on Twitter. Our engineer tonight is Ellen, and we'd like to thank her so much for our help.
Thank you, Ellen. And also a big shout out to our families, Vicky, Sean, all of our friends who have sat at us with the tables across the years and helped us get all this experience, and you our listeners. Thank you.